Hi, I'm Justin Keay, Field Specialist in Horticulture with MU Extension, and I'm going to talk today about how you can save money on fertilizer by comparing fertilizer costs. If you haven't got started with soil testing yet, check out our previous video on Soil Testing Explained to get started. You can save money on fertilizer by sampling your soil and receiving recommendations from a lab. You can fertilize the soil following your soil test recommendations so you're not wasting money on any unnecessary fertilizer. You can then calculate the cost to apply various fertilizers and compare application costs as well as freight costs. So what do those numbers on a fertilizer bag mean? They're the percentage by weight of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The first number is always nitrogen, the second number is phosphorus, and the third number is potassium. This fertilizer is 29% nitrogen, 3% phosphorus, and 4% potassium. How many pounds of each nutrient are in this bag? If we take 50 pounds multiplied by 0.29, we get 14.5 pounds of nitrogen, as well as 1.5 pounds of phosphorus and 2 pounds of potassium. Let's calculate the price of application. The total fertilizer weight is 50 pounds, and the total fertilizer cost is 60 bucks. Let's say we want to apply 10 pounds of nitrogen. We'll take 10 pounds divided by 0.45, which is the decimal value of this percentage, and we'll get 22 pounds of fertilizer. We can then calculate the cost per pound of fertilizer. $60 divided by 50 pounds gives us $1.20 per pound. We take that price per pound rate and multiply it by the pounds of fertilizer we determine we need, and we'll get $26.40 to apply the recommended rate. Let's take a look at a soil test report. This is for high tunnel tomatoes. A couple things that stand out is the pH is very high. The phosphorus and potassium are also very high. The boron is also a little bit low, but we'll get into some of that other stuff in later videos. Let's take a look at the bottom here. The crop selected was tomatoes, and the recommendation is 110 pounds of nitrogen per acre. An acre is 43,560 square feet, but this high tunnel is only 30 by 96, which equals 2,880 square feet. If we take the square footage of the high tunnel divided by the square footage of an acre, we'll get that this is about 6.6% of an acre. Remember, we had 110 pounds of nitrogen recommended per acre from our soil test report. So if we take 0.066, which is the decimal value of 6.6%, we multiply it by 110 pounds, we'll get a rate that we need 7.26 pounds of N for our 30 by 96 high tunnel. Now let's take a moment to review and compare some various fertilizer costs based off some commonly available fertilizers. So we have a 10-0-0 dry water soluble fertilizer. It's $67.50 for 25 pounds. So we can take the recommended rate of nitrogen of 7.26 pounds and divide that by 0.1 or 10%, and that will give us 72.6 pounds of fertilizer that we'll need. We can then determine the price per pound of that fertilizer. So we take $67.50 divided by 25 pounds, because this is a 25-pound bag, and we'll get $2.70 per pound of fertilizer. We can then multiply the rate that we need by the price per pound, and we'll get $196 to fertilize this high tunnel to soil test recommendations. Let's take a look at calcium nitrate. This fertilizer is a 15-0-0, and it's 36 bucks for 50 pounds. So we take 7.2 pounds of N, which is our recommended rate, divide that by 0.15, and we get 48 pounds of fertilizer. We then determine the price per pound, which is 72 cents per pound, and multiply that by the pounds that we need to get our nitrogen down, and it'll cost us about $34.56 to fertilize this high tunnel to soil test recommendations. Let's take a look at an organic fertilizer. This is a blood meal, feather meal mixture. It's a 13-0-0, $40.95 for 50 pounds. We take the recommended nitrogen rate and divide it by 0.13, and we'll get 55 pounds of fertilizer. Calculate the price per pound of fertilizer by dividing the cost by the number of pounds. We get 82 cents per pound. And then we take 55 pounds, which is what we need to get the nitrogen down, times 0.82, and it'll cost us $45.10 to fertilize the high tunnel to soil test recommendations. Let's add in freight. So $40.95 for 50 pounds plus $35 in freight equals $75.95. We'll do the same calculations. Add in the cost of freight raises it to $1.52 per pound, and that'll cost us $83.60 to fertilize the high tunnel to soil test recommendations. Let's take a look at another commonly available fertilizer, a 231 liquid fish fertilizer. This is $35 for 1 gallon. 1 gallon of fish emulsion weighs approximately 9.5 pounds. So let's take a look at this one. We'll take 7.2 pounds divided by 0.02, because this is only 2% nitrogen, and we'll get 360 pounds of fertilizer. If we take 360 pounds and divide it by the 9.5 pounds per gallon, we'll come up that we need almost 38 gallons in total. If we take the 37.9 gallons times $35 per gallon, this will actually cost $1,326 to fertilize the high tunnel to soil test recommendations. Just to give you an idea of the variations to fertilize this high tunnel, we have synthetic fertilizers that vary from 34 to 196, and organic fertilizers that vary from $45 to $1,326. Some considerations are that you're going to get a cheaper per unit price for a larger liquid volume, cheaper per unit price for larger bag sizes, and a cheaper per unit price for case quantities, multiple bags, and pallet pricing. Now, if these calculations have you scratching your head, I want to show you a really cool tool that can make this really simple, which is the University of Georgia Fertilizer Calculator. Let's take a look. I'll include the link to this tool in the description below. Let's start from the beginning. Our soil test recommended 110 pounds per acre. Our high tunnel, however, is 2,880 square feet. You can also use this tool to calculate the area. You can just punch in the length and the width and get the area that you need. Now we selected a 1300 blood meal fertilizer, and the cost per pound that we calculated without freight was about 80 cents. You can then see this fertilizer calculator will tell you you need 55.9 pounds of 1300 for your 2,880 square foot high tunnel. It'll also give you the cost, $44.75, if you use that fertilizer based off of that price. The cool thing about this tool is you can select all different kinds of fertilizers, and you can also punch in your own fertilizer grade if you're not finding what you're looking for. If you have any questions, need help with interpreting soil test results or calculating fertilizer or picking the right fertilizer for the job, feel free to reach out.